do is skip those points which have already been reiterated by Mr. Bhaskar and Shrikant. What I'll try and present before you is the perspective of a registrar, so is to say. At the same time, I'll also like to kind of tell you the experience Andhra Pradesh had with the biometrics in the state. As a registrar, I mean, if you really look at it, be it the civil supplies department or be it a rural employment guarantee scheme program or the pensions or the scholarships, whenever we have the target beneficiaries to be covered, the basic problem that we face is on two fronts. One is on the inclusion side. We have the errors of inclusion. We have people who are supposedly bogus or duplicates and who should not be included in our programs. And on the other hand, we have another list of people who, despite going this far in terms of trying to extend the coverages of the programs that we have, are still getting excluded from our programs. Now, what actually happens is, when we have the inclusion errors on one side and the exclusion errors on the one side, the stock response which the state has as far as inclusion errors is concerned to go in for a kind of a demographic deduplication. I mean, this definitely would lead to the removal of many duplicates, and this is what I am going to be presenting to you. I mean, the experience of Andhra Pradesh over the last 4.5 years, wherein we had gone in for biometric-based ration cards which were delivered by collecting the biometrics, that is the iris biometrics of the citizens, and how this led us to kind of deduplicate our database, and how this led us to removing people who were part of the inclusion error list. On the other hand, UID is also going to help us. I mean, in terms of the biometric deduplication is one side, but it's also going to help us to aggregate the databases. I mean, this is something that's kind of lagging. Most of the government departments, as registrars, who they're all working in their own silos. I mean, you have the pension department having their own databases, you have the scholarships having their own databases. So you have multiple departments and multiple databases. I think the success of UID would primarily be coming in from this aggregation, by bringing together all these disparately located databases through that unique number, through that link number, which is going to kind of integrate these databases. Now, let me quickly tell you about these Andhra Pradesh IRIS project that we had to give the ration cards. Actually, it's all started in the year 2005, and the understanding was that there are large number of duplicates in the ration cards, so we need to go in for collection of their biometrics. Iris was picked as the only biometric at that time. Of course, we had the family photograph also was taken, but at the same time, as far as the biometrics was concerned, Iris was picked in. And the experience Andhra Pradesh had in terms of setting up the photographic locations, I mean these enrollment centers, which we may call them now, has been huge. I mean, we had set up about 1,800 centers across the state, over the nook and corners of the state. And it took us about 4.5 years to complete the enrollment of the entire population in the state. In fact, we had the iris information pertaining to about 6 crore people, the biometric information, so as to say. The demographic information pertaining to about 8 crore people was collected through this process, which started in the year 2005. But fortunately, there were certain problems in that process. Of course, it all has to be seen how these challenges are kind of sorted out during the UIDA enrollment that's going to begin. But the deduplication and enrollment was not happening simultaneously. This was all going as standalone applications. So we were collecting the biometrics, but the process to deduplicate that data was not going on. The cards were being generated after collecting the biometrics. Actually, at that time, the technologies which were available were also not able to deduplicate such a huge database. And that's why what happened was, large number of people got into our database by multiple enrollments. There were mistakes committed by the enrolling agencies. At the same time, the mistakes were also committed by the government officials who were to kind of certify these individuals. Now, all this led us to a huge problem in terms of our financial resources. We had large number of cards. In fact, the number of cards within the state was supposedly more than the number of households which were there in the state. And all these discrepancies got extended to the various other government programs that we had, because ration card database is the primary mother database for all the government programs. So what we decided to do, this is what has been done in the last 2 years, we aggregated the entire database that we had. I mean, this database which was available disparately in various locations was all aggregated, and then we kind of brought in an iris-based algorithm to deduplicate this entire database, and based on that, the duplication results were kind of categorized in various categories. I'll show that to you. After this deduplication, the demographic details, I mean, there were many individuals whose biometrics were not captured for various reasons. So the demographic name-based deduplication was also done. And this entire database was then also linked with the other databases, that's the pension database and the housing database. I mean, this aggregation was done to ensure that we have uniformity across all the departments. After this entire process was completed, I mean, the entire computerized process was completed, this information was put together in the form of the survey sheets which were spanned across the entire state. In fact, if you really look at this deduplication that we did, the biometric deduplication, we had over 55 million iris database which was available with us. So that actually accounted for about 6.26 quadrillion iris matches. And this entire process was completed in 2 months' time to kind of arrive at the final list of individuals whose names were found duplicates. In fact, these were the results. We had about 2 crore 35 lakh cards, ration cards, both the BPL and the APL cards, which covered about 8.5 crore people. We had 5 crore 68 lakhs people. I mean, this is the number of the irises that we had, and out of which 4.31 is the final count of the irises which were found unique. That means there were about 1.3 crore irises which were actually duplicates, which had to be removed during this deduplication process. Now, this entire deduplication was done, and then the field verification was organized because we had to confirm from the field that the results that we found in our computer deduplication were actually the true and fair view of what's happening on the ground. And this is how this entire matching was. I mean, you can see same individual has 2 different cards. All this could not have come had we not gone in for a biometric based solution here. So these were the iris matches for the same photos. There were cases of iris matches with manipulated photographs. I mean, Sania Mirza possessing a white ration card made national news. This actually came out through this deduplication process. We realized that there was a card made by an operator. If you can see the third card here, this was actually the card made using a manipulated photograph. So the biometric actually ensured that all these results came out, and then they were all put together in the form of the survey sheets. And this survey was conducted across the state. It was a census-like operation which was done for the last 1 year to come out with all these results. And the various categories were put together into a field formation, field verification, and based on these field verification results, the entire database was cleaned up. And what we could possibly do in this last 1 year was never done in the last 50 years of the state civil supplies program. And in fact, the kind of savings that came to the department is a clear reflection of what can happen if the country as a whole decides to kind of have a biometric identity through a unique number, which can eventually lead to the right identification and minimization of the inclusion errors and the exclusion errors on the both sides. And these are the kind of savings that come out. In fact, now the entire database has been put into a kind of an online domain, and all the iris biometrics that we have also been put into the online domain, so that 1:1 enrollments can be done and verification and authentication can be done. Now, after having done all this, the database currently has a huge potential, as Mr. Bhaskar pointed out. And it would be very easy for a UID number to be generated on a pre-populated database. I mean, if there is an existing database which has already been deduplicated to some extent, it would be very fast for the enrollments to kind of take place in as far as the UID process is concerned. And that's where Andhra Pradesh had a lead, and that lead is now being utilized to see to it that we are able to capture the residual biometrics and get a UID number for our citizens. Based on this, what we actually did in the last 2 months is a kind of a smart card project. We have to some extent deduplicated our database, but still we find instances of many people who do not go to a ration shop to pick up their ration. They have a card, but they don't go to the ration shop. Or maybe somebody else has kind of taken away their ration card, and the right benefit is not going to the right beneficiary. Now, in order to come out of this, what would be required is a biometric authentication at the issuance